Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlax here. Got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you with some more of that tri-brigade Fiendsmith Spright build that we put together on Ladder a couple of days ago. And doing a little bit more gameplay in the WCQ. If I remember right, this game's actually going to be up against Enneacraft. And we've got the engraver and the starter here. That combined with using our VODS as an extra material means that we should be able to set up the kind of full end board where we end on not only the Caesar from the Fiendsmith line, but also the full Link monster setup from the tri-brigade stuff, including the Pit Knight Airly and the Ancient Warrior's Oath Double Dragon Lords. So this will be a pretty good way to establish what turn 1 end boards for this deck should look like, or at least, I don't know, according to my ideas. Like, you know, we saw in the last video featuring this deck, I totally just built this from scratch on screen, just based on what I had noticed playing other Spright decks and how the engines work. Mainly, I just kind of realized that, like, oh, the tri-brigade Spright, like the tri-brigade side of this engine only requires 2 main deck slots and 2 extra deck slots, so should be pretty easy to combine them all together. Okay, we have made the Caesar. And now by normal summoning VODS, we can link the sequence plus the VODS into Spright Sprend. This is of course why I think Fiendsmith plays extremely well with Spright, because if you've got any of your Fiendsmith starters, the engraver, the tracked, one of those two, plus anything you can normal summon, even a VODS, it's full Spright and Fiendsmith combo. And as mentioned before, we're also able to weave in tri-brigade stuff here. As we're going to summon Kit off of the Gigantic, then we can go dump the tri-brigade Spriggan's Kit in order to revive. Now we're going to activate Spright Starter, pulling blue out of the deck. This, I think, was actually a misplay, because I realized pretty quickly that I'm not even going to have enough room to summon the Jet. I should have just used Starter to grab either red or carrot straight up. Probably carrot. Okay, now we can revive. Tri-brigade Kit can summon out the Ancient Warrior's Oath Double Dragon Lords here. And there's the IP Masquerena. So this is what Engraver plus any normal summon gets you in this deck. This is the end board. We not only again have the Caesar, but the Link spread that I mentioned earlier. And again, if I had actually used that Spright Starter a little more smartly, we could even have carrot or red on this end board right over here as well. Again, I think I would prefer carrot, because we already have ways to negate and also bounce monsters with this end board. Okay, so like I said, our opponent is going to be on Enneacraft, if this is the game I'm remembering. No, I'm sorry, this is a completely different game, because they're going to go into the Allure Dance here, and then we're going to fire off the Jewel and Lockbird, and that alone is going to get them to concede. So we do have a pretty solid Enneacraft game. I'll try to show that one next. It's hard with the WCQ games, because you can't look at your opponent's decks before you start the replay, but anyway, I still wanted to start with this one regardless, because it does establish that end board that we were trying to achieve when we put the deck together. So there's that. Let me show you that more back and forth game now. Okay, I found it. This is actually going to be our going first game up against Enneacraft, and this one you'll get to see us actually use that end board a lot more than, well, we didn't use it at all during the last game, we just drolled them, but this game's going to start out a little bit differently. As you can see, we've got multiple starters and the red here. So I'm going to begin with Special Summon Swap Frog, dump the Ronin by sending the other Swap Frog. Then I can not only special the red, but also normal the Nimble Beaver and summon Angler from deck. Now, this looks really reckless, right? Because you're like, whoa, 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 we're just summoning out all of our starters all at once. But of course, we have the red to help protect us against hand traps. And even if they dropped a Nibiru on us, like, let's say that instead of Spright Red, this was blue, and I went like blue Jet, and they just dropped a Nibiru here and wiped us for 5 monsters and gave us a token. We could still summon Ronin from the graveyard and link it with a token into Spright Sprend. So there's literally not any hand trap that could stop us at this point, even aside from the Spright Red here. But we're going to link off the Swap Frog and the Angler, not into Sprend first, but we're going to do Moon of the Closed Heaven. Of course, we need to establish our Fiendsmith engine. Naturally, you always want to do this first, because it involves special summoning a lot of monsters that aren't level, rank, or link 2. And don't worry about, you know, not having enough bodies to then go into the Sprend. As we've already demonstrated in the last combo line, if you have anything you can normal summon, you will be good to go. Okay, here is the sequence. Of course, sequence is going to make the Fiendsmith's Lacrima. I don't think it's worth it to also play Desiree in your extra deck. I guess if you wanted more extra deck space, you could make Desiree instead of Fiendsmith's Lacrima, and then you would also be able to cut the Caesar from your extra deck. I'll talk about this a little bit more in the deck build portion, but I will say I wish I had at least one more slot in the extra deck, probably for Almirage, but again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Now here I've already got the Nimble Beaver in play, so I can make the Spright Sprend. Still keeping up that Spright Red, by the way. Even if our opponent had a hand trap they were saving up to this point, I could still negate it here. But I am going to make a pretty bad misplay here. I overlaid with the wrong Nimble Beaver. I definitely should have put Gigantic over here, because now when I link off Kit plus Gigantic into Spright Elf, right? Now the Kit's going to activate dumping Springin's Kit, and then revive the Kit and put it here. But because my Spright Elf is over here, I need to put Airly here. That way I can make the Ancient Warriors Double Dragon Lords right here, and then IP would be right here. But of course, Spright Red is right here. So I'm gonna have to kind of get rid of my Monster Negate, and also link off my bodies in an awkward order. For Tri-Brigade Spright in particular, positioning actually super matters for this exact reason. Again, we have to make sure that Pit Knight Airly is pointing to a zone that we can then use Kit to put the Double Dragon Lords in. That way we can still also add IP Masquerena to our end board. Of course, you also have to consider that after we make the Double Dragon Lords, we have to use only Beast, Beast Warrior, and Wing Beast monsters as link material for the rest of the turn. So that's why I have to get rid of the Spright Red here as well. In a perfect world, if I had played it better, we could have had basically the end board you're about to see here. We could have had this, but instead of Tri-Brigade Kit, it would have been the Spright Red. But this end board is still not bad. It's pretty much the same thing that we showed you last time, right? The 4 Link monsters and the Caesar here. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we're going to be up against Enneacraft, and we have far more than enough resources to stop every one of their plays. They're going to begin by placing one of their Pentascales. I'm actually going to go for SP Little Knight now, because I do think hitting one of the Pentascales before it can search is one of the better banishes, especially if my opponent doesn't have another small Enneacraft in hand. Turns out they do, but it's also not that big of a deal because we are holding Joel Knockbird, which is single-handedly just got to be the best hand trap you can have against Enneacraft. Alright, now they're going to activate the Deftero Enneacraft to try to start summoning, and here's another great way we can play against them. Caesar not only negates an effect that summons, but also destroys the card. So we can force them to use up all of their smaller Enneacraft monsters first. We know one of the 3 remaining cards is the Pixia, or whatever it's called, the big, I think, scorpion one. Okay, they have Enneacraft Release. I'm actually going to change Spright Elf here, because I don't think I'm going to need the Airly effect, and I want Spright Red to be in play. That way I can negate and destroy the next Enneacraft monster. They're going to use Reset to place the Annapolis, and I actually have a counter to this, believe it or not. The Ancient Warrior Oath Double Dragon's Lord, because Annapolis, being a field spell, needs to remain face up on the field in order to resolve, right? This applies to field, continuous, and equip spells, as well as continuous trap cards. If they are removed from the field as their effect is activating, it cannot resolve. Meaning that if I use the Double Dragon Lord's bounce on the Enneacraft in response to it activating its own effect, as you can see, it won't resolve. They can replay it if they want, but they won't get to use the once per turn effect, and we'll simply use Spright Red to both negate and destroy the Pixia, their last Enneacraft monster. Not the Scorpion one, that's a different one. Arca, that's right. Arctail, something like that. But in any case, as you can see, even without something like a Spright Carrot to help us out against their spell cards, we can still make very good use of our end board to completely stop all of Enneacraft's plays. Got a couple more games left to show you. Let's go into the next one. Alright, this one, I don't remember off rip what we're up against, but I guess we'll find out in a moment. It's going to be us setting up more boards here. The last game is going to be a going second one. It'll be a bit of a doozy, you'll see. Okay, so here we do have the Fuelos. Oh, but we're going first this time, right. So we're going to begin with Nimble Beaver, summoning out Angler, and then I'll special summon the Spright Blue. Now here they're actually going to use Ash Blossom against Spright Blue, which is always a misplay, literally always a misplay against Spright. The 2 best targets for Ash Blossom are Sprint and Gigantic. But of course, before we summon either of those, we're going to go into Fiendsmith stuff first. Because we've got that extra level 2 body. That's the reason why I summoned out the Spright Blue now, like beforehand, right? Is because it can only special if you have a level or rank 2. And if I have the link 2 sequence, I'd have to use a normal summon. So they are going to imperm the Lacrima, which means I can't really set up any more Fiendsmith stuff. However, I can simply link the Lacrima with the Spright Blue and then just pivot into the Sprint. That's the thing about Spright, like these one-off hand traps like Imperm and Ash Blossom that like negate one effect are really never going to be effective against them. Just because this archetype, by nature of how it plays, has so many extenders, right? And again, even if we'd gotten hit with Nibiru before the Gigantic hit the board, we still had the starter, and oh no, we normal summon Nimble Beaver, that's right. But we still had the starter, so again, starter for a level 2 plus the token, makes either Elf or Sprend, and we can keep playing. Alright, now here I'm going to use both Elf's Revive and the starter to get a couple more bodies on board. Gonna pull Carrot out of the deck, and then we can make Pit Knight early. Now Kit can place the double Dragon Lord, and then we can link into IP Masquerena. Yeah, if they hadn't negated the Lacrima, then we'd also have the Caesar here for our standard turn 1 end board as well. But I think this little chunk of 4 link monsters here is still pretty solid. Okay, it's going to be an Illusion Chimera deck. I'm remembering this match now. Definitely want to revive the Carrot before they are able to get the Chimera Fusion in their hand. They're going to add a Big Winged Baphomet. That was actually kind of a misplay though, because now I can't really make use of Airly unless I use the double Dragon Lord. It's kind of hard to be in a situation where you want to both bounce and negate something like at the same time, but not impossible. Like ideally, yeah, I would have waited for the Elf Revive here and then I could use Airly to negate. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go into SP Little Knight now. I want to banish the Gazelle before they have a chance to fuse. Of course, they're going to get to chain the Chimera Fusion, but I can just chain the Carrot. I don't want them to have a Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast in play, though, because of the Mirror Sword Knight effects. We got to keep that negate offline. Okay, so their hand is Big Wing Baphomet, which they just discarded, plus 2 unknown cards. One of them is Nightmare Apprentice. It's going to let them add the Hecka Hands Ibtel here. They're going to use the Ibtel effect to summon out the Brius from their deck, but I'm going to use the double Dragon Lord to just bounce that and not have to deal with it. They can battle into Little Knight, but illusion monsters cannot destroy anything by battle, so don't have to worry about that. And we also have some setup for future Fiendsmith plays now. Our opponent, realizing this, is just going to concede. Okay, so there's all the going first games. I got one last one to show you here. Like I said, it's going to be a doozy. Okay, so for this game, we are going second, and I'm just going to tell you now, we're not going to do well. We're going to get absolutely steamrolled. But I was totally floored by exactly the deck that we got steamrolled by. So here we're going second. Okay, we don't really have any hand traps here, a little bit unfortunate. I see Wanted for Diabellstar from the opponent, and I'm like, okay, I like Snake Eye decks. I'm always down to see what my Snake Eye opponent is cooking. It is one of my favorite archetypes, so it's one of those archetypes where once I see it, I'll pretty much always stick around and just see whatever my opponent's up to. Okay, they're going to go Link Kuriboh, send away the Poplar with the OSS they added. Snake Eye Ash is going to grab another copy of Poplar. Makes sense. They still have that Diabellstar in hand as well. And then I was like, wait a second. Oh, it's Snake Eye Yummy. That's fun. They're making the Cupsy Yummy way. Cupsy Yummy way effect's going to activate. They're going to add Cupsy Yummy and Marshmallow Yummy. Choosing to discard the Marshmallow. Makes sense. Here's Cupsy Yummy. They're going to add the Yummy Surprise. And it looks like they had a Cookie Yummy in hand as well. Now they're going to use Ash for Oak. Oak F to revive the Ash. Now Oak F gets to activate and they're going to summon out Flamberge. And this was the point where I realized, wait a second. This sequencing and the order they're doing things in looks so familiar. So Flamberge is going to revive 2 of the Snake Eye bodies, which immediately get linked into IP Masquerena. And at this point I was like, no, there's only one Snake Eye Yummy line that plays the sequence in this order. And some of you might already know which deck I'm talking about. Okay, they're going to make Yummy Snatchy. Here's Mignon reviving the Cupsy Yummy. Now they're going to make the Lollipo Yummy way. At this point, I'm thinking, okay, they could still easily just be on a regular, you know, Snake Eye Yummy deck. Okay, they get to revive 2. They're going to sink for 3. They made Shamisen, Samsara, Sarocat. I was like, Okay, Yummy Surprise gets to revive the Marshmallow. Now Marshmallow gets to add back the Yummy Surprise. And now they can make Herald of the Arclight. And I was like, okay, at this point, they're either going to, like, link into Spright Elf, or they're going to do something else. And they did the something else. They're actually going to make the Rasila of the White Forest. And at this point, of course, I knew for sure. I was like, this is my deck! I was like, they're on my deck! Because, like, I will say this combo line, I kind of Frankensteined together by watching various, like, combo videos of other people trying different iterations of Snake Eye Yummy and just kind of amassing all that knowledge into one build. So, like, I don't know, this could be something that somebody else engineered as well, but the sequencing is just so specific. The placement is exactly where I place everything too. Asaden, if you're out there, you're good. Alright, so here's the Mitsurugi side. They're going to use the Ritual in order to send away the Habakiri and summon out the Murakumo. I just want to say, too, for the record, if I had not invented this combo line, I still would not have conceded up to this point. I absolutely would have watched my opponent play this out, because if I didn't already know what they were doing, and I had seen this, my first thought would be, I have to do this myself. I have to try this. I have to make a video about this deck. But I've already made, to some people, probably too many videos about this deck. But I feel an affection towards it. I do like it a lot. Spright and Snake Eye, they're I mean, obviously Sprite's not in that deck, but I'm on Spright here. Two of my favorite decks in the duel arena right now. Anyway, they've made their Murakumo. They're going to summon out the Diabell Star, going for the Dark Magician of Destruction. They don't even have to here. I guess, yeah, they already have the Magician Souls in hand. Then the Sarocat gets to revive by putting back the Herald, and that lets you make the Herald again. Then, of course, here's the Hallowed Azamina. They're going to send away the Morian for the Ilia Sylvia, and then they can reset the Morian because now they have a level 5 or higher illusion monster. They get a draw off Wanted, and because they had the extra Yummy body, they still have the Yummy Surprise in hand. So the face downs are Morian, Yummy Surprise, Mitsurugi Prayers, and the Great Purification. Of course, on top of the Herald, the Ilia Sylvia, the Murakumo, the Boardload, the Baron, the IP. The total amount of disruptions on this end board that my opponent's got here, by the way, is 12. It's 12 disruptions plus the Herald Floodgate effect, which is obviously a stupid amount. I still think this might be the best end board you can, like, realistically make in Master Duel. By realistically, I mean, like, you know, you're not playing a deck that's literally half bricks and hoping that you don't open any of them plus one card. Like, you can realistically set up that turn 1 end board with any hand that has any Snake Eye or any Yummy monster in it. Yeah, there's no way I would concede against this. I'm just gonna play it out. I'll let them disrupt everything. And the fact that they even still had the surprise here is so, so good. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the combo line does exhaust literally pretty much your entire extra deck. And aside from what they already have established, there's not much else follow-up you would have here if I had somehow broken that board, but I think I would dare say that breaking a board like this is pretty much impossible. Anyway, there it is. If I was ever going to show myself getting completely steamrolled by an unbeatable turn 1 end board, it was always going to be this one. So, GG's, Asaden, if you're out there. Hopefully I pronounced your name correctly, but GG's. Okay, let me show you the Spright deck, and then we will finish off. Okay, so here is Tri-Brigade Fiendsmith Spright. You know, I just realized that we didn't see Fenrir a single time in that whole play session. I legit totally forgot this card was in my deck. Yeah, Yeah, this deck does kind of struggle a bit going second. The Fenrir's would have helped with that, and this was something that we kind of talked about as we were building the deck, is just this idea that we were only on 9 hand traps in this build, and so as a result, again, we might struggle going second a bit. I think in the future, I will probably end up cutting the 3 Fenrir for like ghost spells, imperms, some amount of tools that help me go second, maybe even a triple tactics talent somewhere in the mix of that. I don't think Cashier of Fenrir is a bad card. It's just that, again, we didn't really see it in any of the games we went second. I did lose pretty much every going second game in this play session, which was a little bit rough, but that's why we play test and that's why we learn and all that fun stuff. It could also just be that this concept simply does have too much going on as far as engine goes. I'm noticing that not only in the deck list, not having enough room for more like hand traps or other going second tools while trying to stay at 40 cards, but also as we were building the end boards. It's really hard sometimes to, you know, even set up the 4 links plus the Caesar, especially if you don't position things in the right spot. And as you even saw, there were a couple of board setups where I had to kind of compromise adding another negate to the end board just to be able to continue setting up stuff on my board. So at the end of the day, I feel like even though the main deck commitment from Tri-Brigade is just 1 copy of each version of kit, well, each Tri-Brigade kit and Tri-Brigade Springans kit, 1 of each of those, and then the extra commitment is just Airly and Double Dragon Lord. So again, in theory, that's not that big a deal, right? And that shouldn't be that difficult to add all this extra stuff. But in practice, playing out the combo line and what hands tend to look like and all that stuff, it does end up being honestly not necessarily the most realistic thing in the world. But again, even beyond like the capability of doing turn 1 plays, I think it is kind of interfering with our ability to play going second. So moving forward, like I said, I'll try more hand traps over Fenrir's, but if I still lose a lot of going second games, might just have to admit that this concept isn't going to work out as well as I'd like it to, but I still think it's decent. As always, if anyone has any suggestions, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'm recording this just one day after I recorded the live video where we put the deck together and tested it live, so I haven't seen any comments in response to that one yet. So if you left any comments there with suggestions and you don't see them here, that's why. But anyway, yeah, that's going to go ahead and do it for now. Thank you so very much for watching. Let's go ahead and move on to the outro so we can thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.